All right, any other thoughts or comments on that? All right, verses 15 and 16 then. But the free gift is not like the trespass. For if many died through the one man's trespass, much more have the grace of God and the free gift by the grace of that one man, Jesus Christ, abounded for many. So Paul refers to Adam as a pattern of the one to come, meaning Christ in verse 14. In what reverse way was Adam the pattern or prototype of Christ?
So that one brought sin with one act, and one delivered us from sin with one act.
That's a nice way to say that. Yeah, any kind of, you can say it in other ways, but basically any kind of semblance to Mina's answer would be the one to pull out, right? One act of sin by Adam equals death for all. One act of grace by the second Adam equals life for all. Right? And anything, that's how I said it, but Mina's was exactly correct also. Complete the following sentences. I don't know. I guess there's other ways that you could complete this. I'm kind of curious. How did you complete this sentence? John, do you have blanks filled in?
I have through Adam's sin, all people sinned. Through Christ's death, all people have been saved.
All right, nice. Who else? Mark?
I used the words right out of it. It said, through Adam's trespass, all people died. Through Christ's free gift, all people have been justified or reconciled.
All right, nice. Yeah, I had sin, all people died. And then, see, I used the same words then. Through Christ's death, all people have life or live. All right, have life, I guess I wrote. So anything, I mean, all of those are right. Those are all correct. Right? I guess through Adam's obedience, all people live would be wrong. So if you wrote that, Pam, that would be incorrect. All right, number 5A. 5A, a similar comparison is made in 1 Corinthians 15, 21 to 22. List phrases used to compare Adam to Christ. Again, I guess there's several things that you could have here that you could pull out of that text. All pretty similar to Romans 5, 12 to 15. Anybody have a nice comparison? Adam versus Christ comparison.
Adam, death, Christ, life.
No, Adam, death, Christ, life. That's a nice one.
Death through a man, resurrection comes through a man. It's different man.
All right. Yeah, so, right, both come through a man, right? The first Adam and the second Adam. Good. Any others? All right, letter B. The word man is used to describe Adam and Christ. What kind of man was Christ? Well, second article of the Creed Catechism Review, I guess. What kind of a man is Christ?
God-man.
God-man. Good answer, right? God-man, Jesus Christ.
Superman.
Right. What else could you have? Right, true God and true man. Born of a human mother. Takes on flesh. Son of God and Son of Man, right? Any of those kinds of things, I think, come up here in Romans. So number 6A, what is meant by gift and trespass?
Eternal life and sin.
Eternal life and sin, all right? Good. What else do you have?
That's what I know.
Yeah, me too.
Eternal life.
I had Adam equaled the offense and Jesus equaled the free gift or innocence.
All right, good.
I say trespass is what we do, and then forgiveness is what God gives us to God.
Oh, good, yeah. Right, God's action. All right, I just wanted to look at Romans 6:23. Reread Romans 5:15 to 17. How many times does Paul use the term gift?
I had 6, but nobody said I could count.
Let's see, 15. The free gift.
Oh, 5, but.
For if many died through the one man's trespass, how much more do the grace of God and the free gift by his grace of that one man, Jesus Christ, abound to many, for many. And the free gift is not like the result of that one man's sin, for the judgment following one trespass brought condemnation, but the free gift following the trespasses brought justification. For if, because of one man's trespass, death reigned through that one man, much more will those who receive the abundance of grace and the free gift of righteousness reign in the life of the one man, Jesus Christ. All right, 5.
I see 5, yeah, no.
I know. After you said 6, it was like, well, maybe I need to recount, or maybe a translational thing. But I didn't think there should be no difference between the NIV and the ESV with the word gift. I mean, that should be
New King James is 4, only 4.
really. So which one wasn't?
15 starts, but the free gift is not like the offense. For if by the one man's offense many died, much more the grace of God and the gift by the grace of the one man, capitalized, Jesus Christ, abounded to many. And then in 16, and the gift is not like that which came through the one who sinned. For the judgment which came from the one offense resulted in condemnation, but the free gift which came from many offenses resulted in justification.
And 17.
Oh, 17? Oh,
Well,
okay.
then you're 5.
Because you're up to 4 already.
Yeah,
Yeah.
then that gives you 5.
Oh, yeah, and the gift, I'm sorry. I stopped.
All right.
I stopped at 16. Okay.
Well, because we had only read through 16, and then they added, that's what the problem was, they added verse 17 for the count.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
I was like really confused. I was like, well, what other
Change it, yeah.
what other word does New King James use?
Yeah.
All right. I feel like the word offense kind of softens. Maybe it doesn't. It's a very different word than trespass, though, right? You know why is trespass used for sin? Why is trespass a word for sin? What do you do when you trespass on somebody's property?
Break the law.
Nope.
Cross
Do
the
something
line.
we don't belong.
Cross the
You
line.
go somewhere where you
Are not
are not
supposed
supposed to be, right? So sin is a trespass. It's an offense against God, right? I mean, I'm not saying it's invalid, right? It's just it's an interesting word. I feel like the Greek word is trespass, to cross where you're not supposed to be, but I don't know. I'll have to check that out. I'm curious now. All right, sharing optional. Let's go on to day 3, I think. Right, we're on that one, yeah. Day 3. Oh, wait, we didn't answer the question.
Okay,
What does the repetition convey to you?
that's important.
It's important. The magnitude of what God gives us is huge, right? It's an important thing. So repetition, when we repeat, gift, right? This is all gift. It's all gift, right? This is another great passage. So Romans 5 here has nothing to do with baptism, but everything to do with baptism, right? Because it's a gift, free gift. You don't have to believe, you don't have to do anything. You are not in the driver's seat when it comes to God and His gifts. And this is why chapter 5 flows into chapter 6, which is all about baptism. So chapter 5 has nothing to do with baptism, but it has everything to do with baptism. Right? Gift. And Paul is like, he's like pounding this gift thing into your head before you get to the whole baptism thing in chapter 6. Right? What a great, I know, yeah, right, freely given. It's a gift, right? Receive the gift. Faith is the hand that receives the gift. You're not doing anything. You're not in the driver's seat. And so when it comes to chapter 6, right, all of the verbs make God the actor. you're not doing anything, this is all gift, right? So when you talk to somebody who starts to deny like infant baptism, take them back to 3:23, all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. Take them to 5:12 through 14, or no, where did we start? 12 to 14, and point out that all sin because all die, babies die, therefore babies are sinful. And then look at the gift, God's gifts. And ooh, those gifts are tied right to baptism in the next chapter. And remember that in the original letter, there were no chapters and verses. Right? Paul's thoughts flow right from one thing into the next, very purposefully. There isn't a chapter break where 5 has nothing to do with 6. Right? It all flows. It's a stream of conscious thought that all circles back on itself constantly and connects completely. Right? Connects completely. So it's a really good, right? You don't just point to Romans 6 to talk about baptism, but you really have to point to Romans 3 and talk about justification and how all sin and fall short of the glory of God and God's gift of justification, and then how that gift comes through Christ as a gift, and it's a gift that's given then in baptism. Right? Again though, a reasoned logical argument doesn't always work even with Christians because they're so ingrained in their, whatever Christian theology that drives them that it's really difficult for them to see the forest for the trees, right? They can't see the big picture. It's the same problem with the Old Testament, right? For so many Christians, the Old Testament becomes kind of moralistic story, right? Be a great leader like Moses and be a man after God's own heart like David, except don't do the whole adultery thing and murder thing, right? Do this and do this and do this, and the Old Testament is kind of boiled down into distinct stories that become moralistic because they don't have any connection. And it's like, no, big picture, right? And Lutherans are really good at understanding the big picture of things. And so Romans is it's kind of like the Old Testament, right? You don't just read these independent stories. Romans 1 through 6, you don't read independent stories. It's all connected. Oh, and then it's also connected to 7 and 8 and, well, the rest of it too, right? It's a big picture kind of a moment. And that's the problem. It's the problem with proof texting, and this is the thing that Lutherans do wrong a lot of times, is Lutherans try to proof text. Well, let me show you 1 Peter 3:21, and let me show you Titus 3:5-6, and let me show you Acts 2:38, and let me show you Romans 6. And usually just a couple of verses in Romans 6. And it's like, no, that's not the way to have a discussion on baptism. The way to have a discussion on baptism is to discuss Romans 3, at least, maybe going back to 1, but at least Romans 3 through Romans 6. And then you can really discuss baptism. Because 5 has everything to do with the gift of baptism because it's God's action and God's gift. So just a tip for you, if you talk to Christians and they ask you about infant baptism, right, it's because we're sinful. And it's because God has gifts. And it's because we are unable in our sin to do anything to receive the gifts. God has to give the gifts, right? And so you need to have a big picture discussion because your Baptist friends, etc., will have a very narrow picture of, well, babies can't believe, or we have to make a decision to be baptized, or baptism is my commitment to Jesus. Those are very narrow views of what's going on. So you need to show the big picture. It's the same thing, right? People who get flustered or anxious about Israel wiping out all the Canaanites, or the imprecatory psalms that call God's judgment down on evildoers, right? Christians get very, very anxious about those kinds of things, and it's like, yeah, wait, that's because you're not looking at the Old Testament as a big picture moment. This is a big picture moment. And so let me explain biblical theology to you, because you don't do that very well. Right?
That takes me, threw me right back to something we learned a lot of years ago, that a text without all the context is just a pretext.
No. A text without the context is just a pretext to being wrong. I would just add those words, right? A text without context is a pretext to being wrong. Wow, I'm going to steal that. Although it's mine now because I added to it.
There you go.
A text without a context.
What part of it is yours?
Is a pretext
What part of it is yours?
to being wrong. Did I share this with, I've shared this with some of you. I had an old timer in my last congregation. He said to me one day, he said, Pastor, so just so you know, because I think he said something and I was like, oh, that's really great. I need to use that. I don't even remember what it was, but I remember he said, so when you quote something, the first time you quote it, you have to say, you know, Neil Raby once said, that was his name, Neil Raby. Neil Raby once said. And then the next time you quote, you can say someone once said. And then the next time you quote it, you can say, as I've always said. As I've always said.
Art Berkman said that.
There we go. That's really, no, that's really good. No, that's exactly right. And I think that's very, very much with the biblical text, right? One of the main hermeneutical, it's interpretation. One of the main interpretation concepts of Lutheranism is context. What does the context say? Right? We don't just take verses out of thin air.
I always, you know, when I hear the different, oh, you've got to first, you know, say you believe and before you can be baptized, and I'm like going, are you confusing confirmation with baptism?
Yeah, they see baptism much more like we see confirmation.
Yeah.
To say, yes, I believe this. And then it's like, well, which comes first, chicken or the egg? Well, God created chickens, He didn't create eggs. Right? And so God creates faith so that you can confess. Right? But they see the confession so that I can have faith. It's the wrong way. My confession doesn't make me have faith. The faith makes me have the confession. And then you have to say, so then where does the faith come from?
God.
Ephesians 2:8-9. For it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this, meaning faith, is not from yourselves, but is a gift of God, not by works, so that no one boasts. So it's not by the work of your confession that you have faith, right? Not by works, not by the work of your confession that you have faith, but you have faith as a gift from the Holy Spirit, and now you can make your confession. So now where does faith come from? Romans 10, faith comes from hearing, and hearing through the word of Christ. Or one of the baptism passages, right? Again, reason, logical arguments, though, are just really hard. This is why your task when somebody hits you with these things and says, "Oh, why do Lutherans believe in infant baptism?" Right? The quick answer is, well, because we believe what Romans 3:23 says, that all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. And now let me email my pastor and get the better, longer response so I don't screw it up. That's fine. You can always do that, right? Or you can just say, hey, well, we just had a class on Romans, and what we need to do is look at the book of Romans together. That's a much longer witnessing thing. But, all right, so we digress again. All right, 5:17. You guys are like the ADD children in my family. All right. For if, because of one man's trespass, death reigned through that one man, much more will those who receive the abundance of grace and the free gift of righteousness reign in life through the one man, Jesus Christ. All right, Adam and Christ are not equals. List some phrases from 15 to 17 that refer to the greater glory of Christ. Well, there's, I don't know, I have 4, and it's like the whole verses, right? So the gift is not like the trespass. Another one, how much more did God's grace, ... overflow? From verse 16, the gift of God is not like the result of the one man's sin. Verse 17, how much more will those who receive God's abundant provision of grace, reign in life? Right? So it has to do with the how much more statements, and the gift is not like the trespass statements, right? That's what your author is looking for you guys to say 20 things that are all similar. I don't know that serves us with that question necessarily, but that's kind of what you were looking for in that question, is kind of the comparison between Adam and Christ in terms of the words of the text. Any questions on that, or anybody do something completely different and want to admit to it? Or any, I mean, that's okay too, because sometimes good things come out of we did things completely different, scenarios. So, all right, in what way, number 8a, in what way does death continue to exercise its power over Christians?
All die.
All die, right? I feel like we're revisiting this. It's kind of, the author is kind of very Pauline today, right? It's like, keep revisiting, everybody dies. If you don't have the answer yet, everybody dies. All right, so who are the exceptions to the rule? There's 3 exceptions, or, well, technically a lot of exceptions, but the first one, Genesis 5, is Enoch, who walked with God. 2 Kings 2 is Elijah, whirlwind, chariot of fire. And 1 Thessalonians 4,
All who are alive when he returns.
everybody who's alive when he returns.
Are you bringing up the rapture now?
Okay, so interesting question. Lutherans actually believe in the rapture.
We did the rapture.
We absolutely do. It's the Greek word that's in the Thessalonians text. We absolutely believe in the rapture. However, timing, it actually happens once on the last day when Christ returns. We will be caught up in the air to meet him as he comes. Right? It's not caught up in the air and then, sight, leaving again with the believers. The text doesn't say that. Doesn't say that. Simply says we will be caught up in the air to meet him as he comes.
Timing is everything.
I personally believe, I don't want to really be standing on the earth when it erupts into a fireball. I just, swept away with fire. I'd rather not be standing on the earth, right? Catch me up. So that, right, what does the hymn we sang, right? Jesus, your blood and righteousness, my beauty are my glorious dress. Mid flaming worlds in these arrayed, with joy shall I lift up my head. And then it says, bold shall I stand in that great day. The author is talking about the last day. He's talking about when everything is swept away and we stand with Christ. Right? He doesn't bring up the new creation at all, which is interesting choice, but this is a Lutheran, right? This is a Lutheran. He does this right. On the last day, his blood and righteousness are my glorious dress, so I am not swept away with sinful creation. Right? It's just such a great image. Have you ever thought of those words? That's what's going on. I feel like sometimes I should write an explanation of the hymns that we sing. Right? Just put another paragraph in the bulletin, and then I always think about it too late. I'm standing up there singing and go, I feel like I should have explained this verse. All right, but that's what's going on in this. Jesus, your blood and righteousness, my beauty are my glorious dress. Mid flaming worlds in these arrayed, with joy shall I lift up my head. Right, I will lift up my head, fully confident as the end is swirling around me. Right, this is if Christ comes before I die. This is totally 1 Thessalonians 4:17. All right, if I am left when Christ comes. His blood and righteousness are my glorious dress, and it doesn't matter what happens to this world because I'll stand with Christ in the new creation. It's just great imagery. So, totally believe in the rapture. It's just a matter of time. Pam said it well, it's a matter of timing. It's not a two-part thing. It's the end. It's the end.
And if Elijah, 2 Kings, some people speculate maybe Elijah was abducted by a UFO.
Oh, I know. Crazy nutters, right?
You give them that thing for another time, you never know.
I know, because God does not say silly stuff like that, right?
So does that mean in Matthew where Jesus, I think, said there will be a generation that it will come to pass in their generation that They won't die basically because of the coming of the Lord.
I'd have to look at that. It's Matthew, 19-ish,
Might be Matthew 24. Yeah, and I was just
or
trying to-
24
I was just trying to
later.
think how that.
Oh,
how
it's
that-
later, it's Matthew 24, thank you.
Yeah.
It was,
Just
yeah.
how it ties in with, the last day.
and we'll appear.
The sky and all the nations of the earth will mourn. You'll see the sun coming on clouds.
I thought it was in this generation.
Oh, yeah, here, 34. I tell you the truth, this generation will certainly not pass away until all the things have happened.
Yeah, so that's what I was thinking in terms of, like you said, Pastor, where on the last day, if we're still here. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
All right, so this generation, Lutheran Study Bible, repeatedly rebuked by Jesus for rejecting him and the prophets, demanding signs, and otherwise failing to recognize the coming of the Messianic kingdom. That's not a sentence. What did they do there? Wow. The guys he's talking to, right, the leaders, repeatedly rebuked. Oh, I'm sorry. This generation repeatedly rebuked Jesus for rebuked by Jesus for rejecting him. So it's got the quote, this generation is repeatedly rebuked by Jesus for rejecting him and the prophets, demanding signs, and otherwise failing to recognize the coming of the Messianic kingdom. Accordingly, this passage is best taken as a prediction that there will always be a generation that rejects the gospel, demands signs, and dismisses the inevitability of judgment. And so there will be a generation that will pass away when the end comes. Right? So truly I say to you, this generation that rejects me will not pass away until these things take place. Right? That there will be, so it's not, it seems like we don't take that as much, that there's a generation of Christians who will be left on the last day, but there will be a generation of scoffers left on the last day as this all passes away. So it's more of a judgment verse than a salvation verse.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
I would not say that all commentators would say the same thing. And I would not say that all Lutheran pastors would necessarily say the same thing, because sometimes Lutheran pastors say things without actually looking at what they're saying, right? So you may actually hear Christians have a different spin on that, but it sounds like our Lutheran commentators usually take that as the generation of those who reject Jesus, the wicked generation. All right. So when will Christians, letter C, when will the Christians reign in life through the one man, Jesus Christ, reach its complete fulfillment? Yeah, Judgment Day, the last day, right? The new creation. Last day in the new creation, reign in life through the one man, Jesus Christ. Number 9, Christ used another comparison to explain his work in John 10:10-16. How does he enable us to live to the fullest? This is the section on the Good Shepherd. So I feel like the question is a little ambiguous. So how does he as the Good Shepherd enable us to live to the fullest? What is it that the shepherd does for us? What?
He died for us.
He dies for us, right? The shepherd lays down his life for us. What else?
He's always with us.
He cares for us, protects us, always with us, always leading, always nurturing, always guiding, always protecting. Ultimately, right, Mina gave the last answer first, right? But it's the most important answer, right? So it goes first. But it's kind of like, it's kind of like the hymn that Vicar will preach on for the All Antiphon service. O come, Emmanuel, right? Most important verse is first in the hymn, but it's actually originally the last prayer that's read in the, I think it's the Vesper services on December 23rd, or December 24th, before Christmas Day. It's actually the last O Antiphon, but it becomes the first one in the hymn. Anyway, last answer, most important, so put it first. That's what mine did. That's my point. If you didn't understand any of my ramblings, come to Advent service with Vicar. Yeah, ultimately then that Good Shepherd lays down life for us. And that gives us life to the, is it in that section? I don't remember. I read this last night and I don't remember. Life to the full. Isn't that what the Good Shepherd brings, is life to the full? It's in that section, right? So life to the full means that he lays down his life for us, and because he lays down his life for us, he's always with us, always protecting, always nurturing, always caring, etc. Right? So that's what the question was like trying to encapsulate, I think. Questions, comments? All right, day 4, Romans 5. Therefore, as one trespass led to condemnation for all men, so one act of righteousness leads to justification and life for all men. For as by the one man's disobedience the many were made sinners, so by the one man's obedience the many will be made righteous. Right? See, there's another good one too, right? Baby's sinful. Baby's sinful because they're part of all men, because that men there isn't adults or pre-adults 12 years and older. It's all mankind. All mankind. Babies are part of mankind. All mankind sin because of Adam.
Question.
And it doesn't simply say born with sin. All were made sinners. Active. All were made sinners. And probably, this would be interesting to look at, and continue to sin. I really wonder if there's if that's like a, like a present participle continuous action kind of a thing.
In verse...
You see that in verse 19. I don't know, don't prove me wrong in public. Pat?
So if,
You want to agree.
they always say Adam sinned, but if Adam had not followed Eve's advice to take it.
Yeah, so I contend, and I think most conservative scholars would contend, Adam gets the full brunt of God's blame for the sin because he's the head of the family.
Okay.
And he doesn't do his duty as the head of the family. Who received the command not to eat? No, who received the command? Adam received the command
That's right.
before Eve existed.
Okay.
Adam received the command.
That's right.
Adam told his wife because his wife knew the command, but she didn't know the command correctly. She changes the words. Don't eat it, and don't even touch it. Right? Right? So Adam doesn't do what he's supposed to do as head of the family. And so Adam gets blamed. It's the sin of Adam because he's head of the family. And as the head goes, so goes the family. Right? And you actually see that's a microcosm for everything that happens throughout the Old Testament, right? It's when they install a king in Israel, right? God argues with the people, and the people say, we want a king like the nations. And God says, you do not want a king like the nations. And they said, we want to give us a king like the nations. And God said, you do not want a king like the nations, you pinheads. And they say, no, we want a king like the nations. And he says, fine, I'll give you a king just like the nations. and he will take your young women for his harems, and he'll take your young men for his armies, and he will collect taxes and put laborers on your back, etc. So here's a king like the nations, Saul. And they don't appreciate that. And then God says, well, I'm not going to...
What I asked for.
I know I gave you exactly what you wanted, right? And then God says, and then God doesn't, it's interesting, God doesn't do away with the kingship. It would have been really easy for him to have killed Saul, and then through the prophet said, no more king. Get it, dummies? Right? God probably knew that it would have continued, right? They would have always wanted a king like the nations. So God actually gives them the king that they should have asked for, and even that isn't a perfect representation. But he does give them a king after God's own heart. Right? Still collect taxes, and still murdered a guy and took another guy's wife, and all kinds of silliness, right? And counts his chariots, and all kinds of things like that. But at least he was a little closer. But faithful David, faithful Israel. Faithful Solomon, mostly. Faithful Israel. Unfaithful northern king, unfaithful southern king, unfaithful Israel. Right? And as the king goes, so go the people. Right? As the head of the family goes, so go the family. This is why Dad can't stay home. That's why Dad can't stay home on Sunday mornings. Dad can't stay home on Sunday mornings. Because as the head of the family goes, so goes the family. And that's heartbreaking and can be horrible reality, but it's a truism. Now, it's also true that kids will fall away regardless of faithfulness of dad and mom. But the faithfulness of dad is huge because he's head of the family. And when Adam isn't faithful, his wife falls and takes